Murkiest to you all, you wonderful people, as we have once again reached that sweet Friday, the end of the week, but goddamn is it not the end for us, because on Sunday I will be flying out to Sweden to spend some time with the wonderful Echo team and all those casters, and Jordan and Jeeth, where they're going to be talking about the sweet Race to World First. Race time is upon us once again, my friends. We are here, we are ready, we're going to pack tomorrow, we're excited, it's going to be awesome, but I will remind people, of course, there will be a little disruption to the stream Monday, Tuesday, hopefully not too bad. I'll see what I can squeeze in, but we are going to be filming and doing all those kinds of things in preparation to put on the absolute best show we can possibly put on for you as the race unfolds and teams are gathering around the world. Liquid is preparing those players, Method is flying people out to Germany. All is going on next week. It's going to be a good old time. And yes, we do hope Blizzard does tune the fights correctly this time. That would be very enjoyable. Will they be dethroned? The Que shall be joining me on my adventure to Sweden. He's coming again. He has a 100% track record. Never has the Que witnessed a lost race. Never. The Que has always has a 100% track record. What an absolute superstar. What a hero. So it's going to be so goddamn good. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to spend time with the best casting team I think they can put forward. It's going to be great. I won't forget him. I will pack him tomorrow. I will make sure it's good. I'm working all night, and then tomorrow I've got some stuff to do, and then I can pack, and I will make sure the Que joins us on our adventure. So stay tuned for that. If you log into our usual Twitch stream at some point during the day and I'm not there, I'm probably on the Echo channel, but of course we will host it, so you guys know where to find as well. I expect to see a lot of Roger emotes, letting him cook. If we can get some Roger spies in there while he's figuring his stuff out to make sure that we see some representation from the trolley in there to make sure we show our Roger Brown spying and hopefully not benched. We might need a cool bench emote to go with some of the characters, but it should be a lot of fun. And we wouldn't. I think it's pretty much confirmed we probably won't hold like an official Sweden meetup. My schedule is really, really packed. I only have one afternoon off, and it's a next Sunday. So it's a week on Sunday, and I probably by that time would like that afternoon to just sort of sit and not move anywhere and do that kind of stuff. So as it stands right now, we haven't got an official Sweden meetup organized, but the race can do anything. The race can do anything. It can change and do all kinds of different things. But we are going to be, if you haven't heard, I should make the announcement here for Drama Time for anybody who doesn't catch our normal streams. I am going to be in New Zealand. What's the dates? I haven't got the dates. I'm going to be in New Zealand for Exile Con. Grinding Gear Games has invited us to New Zealand. So I will be in New Zealand July 29th and 30th. And then I will have exactly one day. I will be making a pit stop into Sydney, Australia, to see as many of you as humanly possible as well in the 2 days after ExileCon. So I'll be in New Zealand for 2 days, and then I'll be over to Sydney to see some people there. And then we've got FanFest coming up. FanFest in London, where if you haven't got a FanFest ticket, we will be around for that. We'll be spending a day with people who are coming down to say hi and do all that kind of stuff. So we'll have some more details on that coming out as well. But that will be in FanFest towards the end of the year. And then I will be in Texas in February next year for the Eclipse. So any Team America out there who is accessible to Texas, we will be in Texas just outside Austin, I think, for a few days to see the full solar eclipse that's coming there. So a lot of traveling coming up. Should be a ton of fun. I'm very excited to be out and about and seeing people once again. I will not be visiting any content creators while I'm there. And with my family, we will be going to some little town outside of Austin. It's like a couple of hours away, somewhere like that. I'll have the name for it. It begins with B, somewhere that begins with B. I do know where it is, but I haven't got it officially yet. I'll text Emma now, so maybe I can put it into this Drama Time episode so people know. Let me text my wife. She does know where it's going. I should have done this before, but, you know, it is what it is. What town are we staying in while in Texas? And I'll find out as the show goes on. But that's not why you're here right now, ladies and gentlemen. It is, of course, Drama Time. Bex has prepared 4 stories for me, and every single title of these stories looks amazing. And we, of course, encourage all of you, doesn't matter what game you play, you bump into crazy people online, don't you? You bump into those wacky people doing all sorts of wacky things. So send those stories into us at drama@preachgaming.com. So we can have a sift through them and have a good old storytelling session on a Friday. Look forward to hearing all your tales. So let's get started here. I have a child who disgraces his family. Oh, man. But I want to start with this one because I'm curious what it's about. And it just says, a guild with a Karen in it for a GM. So let's see where this takes us. I'm very curious, especially after last week's drama, which was a sad story, but one that needed to be told. Oh. A sad story that needed to be told. My guild died in a day. My guild died in a single day. A single day. All right, we've got two wonderful names here from our website supporters. I put the title in the wrong thing. That's okay. I've only been doing this for a few years, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm kind of new. You know what it is? I'm actually going to fix it now. There we go. I fixed it. The name box was above the title box, which is not how my brain works. We've got Dunthus and Petsod, who are going to be the stars of today's story. So if you ever want to be a star in our stories, simply it's our website supporters that do that, which enable the show to continue, which is super, super good. All right, let's go. Hello, the groovy and spectacular people at Preach Gaming, okay, and the vicious and terrible chat. Okay. So, no butt licking for you guys today, judge, jury. No butt licking going on for you today. I apologize for my attitude, but I live in Birmingham. Sorry. Okay, that explains it. Like, I have never met a single person from Birmingham who was a nice human being. Like, not a single time. So, that's understandable. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? It makes a lot of sense. If you come from Birmingham, you're probably there's something going wrong somewhere, right? It's understandable, but it is the way it is. It is the way it is. It's the way it's going to be. Before I go into the main bulk of today's tale for you wonderful people, there's a little event I'd like to talk about that I found really funny. About a week ago, when looking for mining nodes in Winterspring, I am a human paladin, I came across a troll priest questing out there named Preach. I rode past them without much thought before remembering, I think, that you played a troll priest in Classic. I did. In Vanilla, not Classic. Those are different names. I turned back to help them kill a couple of mobs they were struggling with, so clearly wasn't me, thinking it may have been you. You really think I'm struggling to kill mobs in Winterspring? Come on now. Come on now. Right, oh, this guy's struggling with Winterspring mobs. It's probably Mike. Yeah. I then checked your Twitch, saw that you were playing a different game entirely, and turned back to murder this troll priest. For being a pretender? Wait a minute. Turns around and butchers him. Okay, I can respect it. That's kind of cool. That's not Mike. Kill on sight. Oh, I like that. Now, let me tell you the main story. This all began early on this year when I decided to pick up WoW Classic again. I've been playing it on and off since I came back in 2019, but I decided it was finally time to hit level 60. No. I never once hit 60 in Classic until this year, despite making my account in 2019. It's not because I'm bad, I'm worse than that, I'm a casual. Jesus Christ. That's very casual, even for Classic. That's very casual. I hit 60 on my pally and decided to try and find myself a guild. Do you need a guild? If it takes you 4 years to cap a character, is a guild the right move? Is a guild the right move then? Luckily, this was right at the start of when Classic was starting to experience its renaissance period, and everybody was enjoying it again. And it wasn't hard to find a group willing to take me in. So I joined the guild, joined the Discord, hopped into the voice chat to say hi. I was greeted by 3 bros, all very friendly and nice to talk to, and a lady, the guild master. Before I continue here, I want to take a little side tangent to explain that I really hate when people call women crazy, just because they don't know how to speak to them. It's stupid and rude, and it just shows what extremely high levels of small dick energy you have. However, I must tell you this now, and tell you this truthfully. I could smell crazy on this GM the moment I joined the call. She introduced herself as Dunthus, a fellow paladin, and told me it was rare to see anyone playing paladin as retribution, which I had been doing, but only because I had been solo leveling. Yeah. However, she kind of made fun of me for it. She made fun of you for playing Ret as a solo player? Okay. She kind of made fun of me for it. I explained why I was playing Ret, and that I would definitely go holy, like her, for raids. I see not many things have changed in Classic, then. I see things still remain the same. Are you playing a paladin? Then you will heal, and you'll press that flash of light button over and over and over again. And then you'll press it some more, and more, and more, because that's all you're worth. You're worth nothing else, you useless, useless bastard. Her tone switched from condescending playfulness to what can only be described as bitterness. She replied in a very stern voice. You can't go holy. I'm the holy paladin for this guild. We don't need more holy paladins. I didn't say anything to defend myself, shocked as I was. But I was defended by another guy in the call, and his name was Petsod. He was playing a geared to the teeth paladin tank. Oh, Jesus Christ. He had the thick boy Thunder Fury, face of death, full judgment gear. And he just said in his Giga Chad voice, Dunthus, it's fine. We'll need as many healers as possible to be ready to raid. It's good if he wants to play holy. That's just one more healer for our team. Dunthus sat in silence for a moment before putting on a clearly forced, chirpy and cheerful voice and asking me, Do you wish to come to LBRS with us? This whole interaction was very strange. I'd been in the guild for several minutes only, and I was a little taken aback by the quick change of subject and tone, but yeah, I do want to go to LBRS, so I accepted the offer, having never seen the dungeon before and wanting to get some gear for raiding. The dungeon went okay. I was a freshly dinged level 60 Ret Paladin wearing leveling greens. Dunthus' healing was fucking dreadful. But we were being hard carried by this Giga Chad swole Paladin tank, so it went well enough. At some point, I just have to pause the story here. There's a lot of red flags here. First of all, your guild is not ready to raid yet. Clearly, they're recruiting people so they can raid. Yet your main tank already has a Thunder Fury. And your guild master believes there should only be one healing paladin in the 40-man raid composition. There's a lot of questionable things that are occurring here. Right? There's a lot of things that would make me go, huh. Alright. Okay. At some point through the dungeon, we slightly overpulled, taking on 6-ish mobs, and we wiped. Shortly after rezzing and rebuffing, Dunthus started walking off in the direction of the Mother's Milk spider quest area, and asked Petsod to pull a pack of 8. Pretty much everyone else in the group said something like, that's too many, we just wiped, so a pack of 6. Why would we pull more? She said, everybody stop. She had seen this pull done elsewhere, with a paladin tank. We are going to be raiders. We should do the pulls that raiders do. I think you should pull all of the enemies. This went on for a couple of minutes before Petsod said, You can pull that if you want, but I'm tanking. I'm going nowhere near that many mobs. Let's just go do this Mother's Milk quest you want so much. Oh no. As Petsod started moving and we followed, we noticed she was not moving. She stood still. She didn't reply for a full 30 seconds. I have no idea what was happening in those 30 seconds, but I can only imagine it was some kind of extreme rage. After about 30 seconds or so, her character started to move and she started to follow Petsod and the rest of the group to the spiders. Everyone else in the group was on the quest, which for those who don't know involved you getting a debuff from a spider boss in the dungeon, which periodically freezes you in place. Oh, I remember that quest, it's horrible. And with that debuff, you have to get out of the dungeon, go all the way to the Loch Modan zone and hand in before the debuff runs out. Everyone in the group knew the strategy for this and had set their hearthstones to Loch Modan so they could immediately get there the moment the boss died. We pulled the boss. Dunthus got the debuff and then immediately bubble hearthed out of the dungeon. Our healer ditched us within 5 seconds to hand in the quest. Peace! I'm out of here. Peace. I'm not even sure if it worked, because I'm pretty sure Bubble would remove the debuff. We, of course, wiped. Petsod asked, what happened? And so I noticed, and I said, Dunthus, what the fuck? Why didn't you just wait for us to finish the fight? Gentlemen, she did not like that. She didn't like that one little bit. Her reply was quick and to the point. I am your GM. Do not speak to me in that disrespectful tone. At this point, I had been in this guild for less than an hour. I sat in stunned silence for a second before deciding to just finish the run and get the fuck out of there. About an hour later, the run was over. Petsod then invited me along for their Strat Undead run. I decided to stick around and go with them because even though Dunthus was fucking nuts, Petsod and the others were cool people. Plus, Rivendare drops pre-bis for me, so I felt pretty silly to turn down a free dungeon invite. This run went pretty goddamn smoothly. I have nothing to report to you before the end of the run. The Robes of the Exalted dropped from Rivendare, the healer pre-raid best in slot. Dunthus needed on it. I needed on it too. I am going to be holy. I won it. Why the fuck did you need on that? Trade it to me. You don't even heal, you stupid ret paladin. I explained, of course, yet again, that I'm going holy for raiding. I need gear too. She didn't reply to me. She logged off on the spot and left the Discord call. The rest of us had a bit of a giggle about it. The other guys congratulated me on getting that armor drop on my first run, and all went off for the night without more incidents. The next day I logged back on to an instantaneous message in the pink from Petsod. It said, hey man, did you make any complaints about me to Dunthus? No? What do you mean? No. Why? She kicked me from the guild, saying that someone in the guild and our group last night had complained about my performance and my attitude, and that she was so bad that she had no choice but to remove me from the guild. Wasn't me, bro. I thought you were cool. I wanted to stick around longer. I expressed my condolences for getting kicked and asked, what's the plan now? Because, honestly, this guy was a fucking Chad tank. He told me of his plan to start his own fresh guild. He'd been playing this game pretty much since launch and decided to get back into raiding as a bit of a classic veteran. And he had goals of helping newbies join the game to get themselves into raiding. Okay. I, of course, immediately left Dunthus's guild on the spot and asked him for an invite. He had me sign the guild charter. I helped him set up the guild Discord. And a little later that night, Petsod and I hopped into the Discord call and spoke about what the guild was going to be. What is our mission statement? What is our goal? What knights would work best for raiding? Things like that, so we could give proper information to new recruits. It was at that point he explained to me what had actually happened that had led him to be kicked from our previous guild, which he'd managed to find out after a few more hours of sleuthing and whispering people. It turned out Dunthus had kicked him from the guild because her boyfriend had left her over Pet Sod's Thunder Fury. What? What does that mean? What? Thunder Fury broke up a relationship. Okay, you caught my attention. What is this? I swear to you, Preach, I'm not joking. Dunthus's boyfriend also played Paladin. He was desperate to play Protection in her guild, but his gear did not come even close to Petsod's. And upon seeing how much gear Petsod had from his days of playing Classic when it launched, and how Dunthus had decided to do dungeons with him instead of her boyfriend the night before, he left her. The meme was made that clearly she liked men with bigger swords. I swear to you, Preach, I'm not joking. I didn't hear this firsthand, but I have heard the retelling of this argument from several people, and at this point, believe it to be entirely true. Dunthus's boyfriend dumped her and left the guild. Then in a blind fury, she kicked him from the guild and made up the complaints as an excuse to try and get her boyfriend back. Damn, dude, you got cooked by gear score. Not only that, you got cooked by a classic prop paladin. Weak. Fuck. The next day, after finding all of this out, I woke up to find our guild ranks completely full of the members of Dunthus's guild. Apparently, the instant people saw Petsod with his Thunder Fury left the guild and was advertising a new guild, they knew immediately where to go. Follow the Thunder Fury. By Thunder Fury's light, we now know where we must go. Follow the tank, baby. This had apparently led to Dunthus sending Petsod a death threat and then blocking him on everything. Jesus Christ. I'm happy to say, though, Preacher, the guild has been going strong for a couple of months now with an absolute buttload of members, frequent raid nights, and little to no drama. Petsod is still the GM. There are a handful of other officers who are all great raid leaders, and also me, who I've become the HR officer. Because although I know next to nothing about the classic version of the game, I have a deep, calming voice, and people seem to think I have decent people skills. Therefore, I am HR man to all the raiders. That's all I have for this little tale. Thank you for reading it, and I'll catch you next time. Dude, you got dumped over Thunder Fury. Wow. I don't think that relationship was rock solid, you know. I think there might have been some cracks. I don't know about you guys, but I think there might have been some cracks in that guild before in that relationship before it fell apart. Just a theory. Just throwing out some wild ideas there. A thunder crack. Can you imagine, though? Of course, sort of assume this is true, but can you imagine being so jealous of somebody's WoW character that you leave your girlfriend because she's playing with him and not you? That's a grim place to be, isn't it? That's a pretty grim place to be. That's a pretty grim place to be. I mean, that sounds like a good excuse. Okay. The Murkiest Cesspool Guild ever. Now, we have had many people try to claim the title of the worst cesspool guild. We have had a lot of tales of people trying to take that crown of who is a member of the worst cesspool guild. But I still think the worst one was the guild that got tricked in WoW Classic. That there was GMs in the guild that were filming and they took all the loot off their Molten Core run. I still think that's pretty tragic. That's a pretty tragic situation to be in. Yes, the film crew. Especially the guys who only came in for the bosses they needed loot from. There's been some bad ones over the years, but that one is right up there. That's a pretty shitty guild to be in. Yes, there was a follow-up story from another guild they hit. That group of people who pretended to be a film crew from Blizzard hit like 7 or 8 guilds before they got shut down. They went everywhere telling people that they were filming them. They were like a mafia of people convincing people that they were filming. And taking all the loot. Just ridiculous. All right. From our wonderful, wonderful live audience here, can we have a guild name to go along this? I'm not sure what era we're in. I have no context for the guild name. So you guys can pick whatever you want. The managers, the Twat Wombles, the Thunder Furies. Yeah, I like that, actually. That fits our theme. We'll go with the Thunder Furies. That's good. That's good. I like that very much. Okay. Hello, Preach and Co. and the live audience. Today, I want to regale you with a story that is so bizarre. I am sure that your audience will at least call some of it fake. I am but a minor character in this tale. The release of Wrath Classic has motivated me to share this story with you that is our timeline. But I assure you all, everything I'm about to tell you is 100% true. It's just the most ridiculous situation I have ever found myself in any video game. Okay, so we're back in WoW. In 2009, I began playing World of Warcraft at the behest of my boss at the local GameStop. He was a main tank for his LAN WoW guild. They would all take their towers and set up and raid Ulduar. That sounds awesome. They had multiple hunters and paladins, so it was recommended I go priest to help heal for when ICC released. I think it took me 20 levels to figure out I needed to wand to do DPS and avoid going out of mana. However, in a tale as old as time, they stopped playing after clearing ICC the first time, as they had beaten the game. That's pretty fair. Like, once you kill the last boss, that's pretty fair. I never take issue with them if the guild wants to stop after killing the last boss once. I'm fine with it. I was level 59. Eventually, I got to level 80 and did the old badge farm in Pugs to get my gear, so I too could go and try out Icecrown Citadel. A huge amount of players do that. They only ever kill the last boss of the expansion once. A huge, huge amount of players do that. Yeah, pretty normal. In trade, though, I saw an advert. Join the Thunder Furies as we tackle Arthas and the Scourge, seeking DPS with potential healer off-specs. Now that was me. They had flair in that advertisement. They needed me. I knew how to bubble spam as discipline. I asked to join and was given a spot in the raid as a trial. No application needed, just a whisper. Get out immediately. Get out. Just run. Just run for your fucking life. Like, not even a conversation. Run. Run for your fucking life. Just come raid and pass on all the loot as a trial. Okay. We still had Master Looter then. We're passing all the loot. Okay. I went to the raid, though. Of course I did. Enjoyed the banter. They talked about sports, video games. They had a relatively crude humor that I was on board with. And as time passed, we cleared Icecrown on normal and heroic after the nerfs. The other priest, Knight Scion, hated me. He would send me whispers telling me I was a shit priest because all I did was bubble spam and that I was the guild's disciplined bitch. Yeah, well, Infest says hello, dude. That bubble spam's pretty fucking good, is it not? That bubble spam's pretty fucking good. You're a dis bitch. The guild's dis bitch. I do remember our dis priest complaining endlessly in Wrath of the Lich King that it was so fucking boring to just press bubble on everybody. Okay. To be fair, he probably wasn't wrong. Yeah, it's fair. I never even got the mount, unhappy face. Over the course of time and into Cataclysm, I learned this guild was a little strange. Their Death Knight Sullivan and the GM Nautilus looked very much alike. They could be brothers, or cousins at worst. Sullivan's wife was our warlock, Fartles. Bex, you named his wife Fartles. That's the name you chose? Fartles. Okay. His beautiful wife, Fartles. And she used to drone on and on about how much she wanted to be a plate sandwich because there was two men in the guild that looked alike. I see why we went with Fartles. She wants to be a plate sandwich. I also found out later that Fartles had a child with another man. They all lived in the same house as a weird throuple and did challenge modes together. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So, yeah, I'm not a fan. Sullivan would constantly post in the forums about he couldn't find a woman like Fartles had found another man. I wish I could find another man like Fartles did. That would be amazing. Our druid Brooksy and Hunter Case Cage were a unique pair. I was told Brooksy was a Japanese girl who was a mute. I had a mute person in my high school class, so it didn't bother me much. She was big into music and raves. She would post pictures of herself at these parties on the forums. She said she shared a computer with her roommate who didn't play WoW. Yeah, my suspicions are rising. Case Cage was her friend, local in Japan, who would help her out and also was in the guild, although he never raided with us. He was ex-military and stayed in Japan after discharge. She would say weird stuff all the time, and oftentimes she would ask the guild to guess what colour her pubes were after a rave. I've been to a few raves. Did not see any pube dyeing going on. Once she told us that she'd gone all out and made them rainbow. You see, what's the etiquette there in asking for a picture? Because there's a curiosity about it. I don't know where we stand socially on this one. I kind of need a picture of that, right? Kind of. I mean, I do want to know. There's a million vaginas out there. I'm kind of curious now. Yeah. I would be toiling with that question. Let's just suppose, for example, Jordan tells me that she's got a rainbow bush. I'm really going to be wrestling with that question for a while. Huh. Yeah, I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to ask. I'm just going to pass. I'm going to pass. I think that's the safer choice. I thought it was absolutely fucking bizarre that anybody would tell you about their pubes. And especially to have them rainbow. But maybe it was Japanese culture. Maybe. It seems right, yeah? Chat bubbles, rainbow pubes. It's hard to say where the line is drawn, honestly. It really is hard to say where that line gets drawn. It's a whole combination of things. We're all learning together. Thankfully, the internet and gaming in general is a nice cultural hodgepodge where we're all figuring things out. She was a great farmer, though. She would spend hours doing Saronite and Titanium farming in Wrath and then doing Uldum Loop in Kata. But then, 2011 happened. The Fukushima nuclear reactor meltdown. We scrambled as a guild to check in on our two Japanese guildies. Night Scion organized guild collections of supplies and money to send them so they would have something. Night Scion alone contributed $300 and a bunch of supplies. We got an address in Japan, and we sent it to them. Right. Right. A few weeks later, our Guildmaster Nautilus got a text message saying that the druid Brooksy was not a real person. There was no mute Japanese girl in our guild. There, of course, were no rainbow pubes that we know of. They sent photos of the real person who Brooksy claimed to be, with and without rave makeup. We, especially Night Scion, were livid. We had created care packages. We had legitimate, genuine concern for their well-being of our guild friends. We confronted Case Cage, who was allegedly a helper and friend. We had the evidence to support our allegations. We knew a little that he had a criminal history, but we didn't expect his next move. I am just fucking on the ride with you guys for this one. I am in. He sent Nautilus and other members of the guild surveillance photos he had taken of them, as they all lived in the greater Irvine area. Oh no. Well, that took a turn. That took a turn. He threatened to harm us. He put a dead fish on Nautilus's doorstep. A side note here, it took me longer than I care to admit to realize that apparently this was a stinky vagina reference. I didn't get that either. He advised us that because of the pressure we were creating in his life, he was going to leave the guild with both his hunter and his druid accounts. And if we were to expose him to his new guild, he would follow through with his threats. We discovered through our conversation with him the address he provided us was his old address in Japan that auto-forwarded back to the US address. He never refunded us any of the money. It's probably for the best you cut contacts, honestly. Like, I know you're out of pocket, but at this point, it's probably for the best that you just let it go. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Just let it go. I would definitely call the police for the stalking and harassment, but, like, at that point, we don't know. The guild eventually disbanded. Myself and the GM Nautilus joined one of the top guilds on the server to finish out Dragon Soul. He ended up being promoted to the GM of that guild, and then handing it off to his stepfather and mother when he quit playing. They G-kicked me when I was inactive for 6 months to finish off my pharmacy schooling. Sadly, Nautilus passed away from COVID in 2021. We had an in-game memorial service for him. Fartles and Sullivan no longer play WoW, but are still loosely together. The father of the second child... The father of the second child has taken a larger role in their now consensual communal family throuple. Murka, baby. Murka. So he's become like the alpha daddy? I guess. Yeah, I do say some sentences sometimes, and then, you know. Polyamory, yeah. I mean, all right. I guess. In happier news, though, Night Sire and I just celebrated our 5-year marriage anniversary. You met your partner? Awesome. Well, I still get to play WoW sparingly. I got the Bruto Goop Cat and Keystone Masters Season 4, the Brutosaurus, I see. We don't have the same passion for the game we did as 20-somethings anymore, but goddamn, what a ride I had in that guild. So, I mean, that's mental illness, right, this guy? That's mental illness. This guy, ex-military, criminal record, creates this Japanese persona of a raver, basically like some weeby anime girl. Yeah, that's like a big... And then goes stalking and all sorts. That's some scary shit, dude. I mean, there's no predicting with that, right? There's no predicting what that person's going to do next. That's really scary. You can't... That's like a crab. You don't know where they're going to go. That's going to freak you the fuck out. Every single time. I can't believe he's ex-military on a criminal record lies about the other stuff. Because they still had the... I mean, are you suggesting then he goes even further and he created a fake address in Japan and he'd like never even been there? Maybe. I don't know, man. Maybe. That's... I mean, it's entirely possible. That's for sure. I don't know. People like that are super scary. It's a whole web of lies. Well, there's no way he could have been planning for the meltdown, right? To get funds. It's not like he asked them for the money. He didn't ask them for the money. They sent that out of kindness for the heart. It's not like he was planning on a nuclear reactor meltdown so he could try and get some cash out of them. We spelled that wrong. There we go. That you know of. I think I'm fortunate. I've never dealt with anybody with serious mental issues. Like, definitely some borderline people. That's happened regularly. You know, not regularly, but quite a few times. But never everybody who was, like, violent, really violent tendencies or anything like that. I've never had to do that. All right. Preacher and team. As a little note, I, the author, am a woman. But I was born with a strange mutation that led to my transformation into the superhero I am today. That's right, I'm an X-Man. A little trans joke there. I transitioned in my 20s, and this story is from when I was a little kid. So I refer to myself as a boy, and my gayness is somewhat relevant. Gotcha. All right, with you. The Bilge Boy, or how my own father disowned me. Oh my god, is this going to get dark? Is this going to get dark? Bex! I don't want to finish on a sad story, right? I don't want to finish. Bex, are we good here? I want to know, are we okay? Is this going to be, like, really depressing? It's really funny. Okay, Bex gives us the all clear. We've had the thumbs up. All right, good. Greetings, Preacher and team. I write to you today with a sad and soggy tale of how I went from a respected and feared privateer of the Seven Seas into a down-and-out wretch begging for scraps on the dock. My story comes from the greatest of all MMOs, a game that promised the thrill and adventure of the high seas, but actually turned into a Dickensian tale of woe and poverty. A game more dramatic than any Pirates of the Caribbean movie, even the weird one with the mermaid, Pirates 5. Bad. I'm sure chat has guessed it by now. Of course, it is the one and the only. Nobody guessed it. Let's find a picture. Puzzle Pirates Online. Ah, yes. Puzzle Pirates Online. Okay. Let's take a quick look. Let's take a gander for our live audience here. Puzzle Pirates on... You can get this on Steam. Oh, yeah. The vast booty. Okay, this is definitely an online game. So it's like a browserish looking game with a bunch of pirates and people making booty jokes. So it's like the Dark Souls community in a forum, essentially. That's what it looks like. Join me crew and many such riches await ye too. A pirate king. This cabin be grand enough for a king. It's like Club Penguin for pirates. That's a fair assessment of it. That's a and then it looks like you play. Oh God, Bejeweled. Yeah, it looks like the actual gameplay is Bejeweled against other people. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a general idea. Is this on Project MMO's list? Certainly higher than Elder Scrolls Online right now. Is a bit of Puzzle Pirates Online. The crawlers will sail the seven seas. Okay. Puzzle Pirates Online was a browser-based subscription MMO. Fuck off. You had to pay monthly. Fuck right off. No way you paying. Where's Steam? There is no fucking way you are subscribing to this. I'm opening Steam right now. I need to check. There is no fucking way. Store. Puzzle Pirates. No, it's free. Wait a minute, though. It says free. Puzzle Pirates Online. Co-op piracy. Okay, it looks like it's free to play now. Maybe it used to be a sub. It has in-app purchases. All right, it's gone with the in-app purchases, so you can probably buy yourself some quality pirate glam to go with it. It reached its peak popularity in the early to mid 2000s. Can someone do a Steam check of how many people are currently playing Puzzle Pirates Online? Can someone check the activity? Around the same time that interest in pirates briefly peaked, thanks to the eternally bisexual Pirates of the Caribbean launching in the 18th century, seafaring into mainstream consciousness. It was part online sandbox, part social simulator, and part puzzle minigame experience. You create a character from a limited pool of options that basically made everyone look like a little Playmobil figure. We just looked it up. And we're dumped on an island in a vast sea. 134 peel at peak. 91 current players. Still going. That game is 23 years old. This is what I'm saying. MMOs will just never die. There's always somebody who wants to fucking play some Puzzle Pirates Online from the 23 years ago browser game. Still playing. Still gaming. They'll leave them servers up forever. Okay. It sounds cute, right? And wrong. It was complex. It was cutthroat. It was a sandbox of class privilege and constant financial hardship for the many, whilst the few at the top enjoyed extreme luxury. The basic gameplay loop involved a group of players making a crew, which is a guild, of 5 to 100 players to take out ships of varying sizes and engage in trading, PvE pillaging, or PvP raiding. The puzzle part of the game came into play in that each ship had a variety of job stations where players needed to complete mini-games in order to provide labour towards the running of the ship. For example, in order to keep the ship free of waters, players needed to be constantly play a Candy Crush style game called bilging, where you pumped the bilge to release fluid. Or if a ship was damaged in battle, you had to play Tetris, which they called carpenting, to patch it up. Every role you could think of, from sailing to navigate to gunning, had its own individual minigame that fed into the ship. Okay, so when we make the Crawlers Guild, I need somebody who can min-max Tetris, and that's your only game. I don't need any multi-classes in our crew, right? I want the Tetris gamers, I want the Bejeweled gamers. That's what I need, and I want you to solidly focus on that. You're going to be our pumper gimpy? Alright, yeah, get voted. You're good at Tetris. Okay, you can't all take Tetris. You can't all take Tetris. Tetris main spec. I'm maining Tetris. Oh, Jesus fuck. The smaller ships, the sloops, might only need one player per station or even a single player to work 2 stations at the same time by hopping between the puzzles. However, the big ships, the galleons, the men of war, might require 10 plus players per minigame. Alright, we can afford to take 10 Tetris players. I need a Tetris class officer. Who's putting the hand up? Who's going to be Tetris class officer? I need you. The better you were at solving and completing the puzzles, the more labour you would provide to the ship. So a great carpenter would be the equivalent of a great healer in World of Warcraft. The better the skill of your crew, the harder enemies you could battle and loot for pieces of 8. And trade commodities. Trading commodities such as cotton, sugar, iron were used by production puzzle professions to create goods, houses, consumables, as well as build new ships. Islands and shops were all... This game sounds really fun. This game sounds dope. We're all just playing fucking Tetris and shit all day. We've got a giant crew to sail the seas. This sounds dope as fuck. Islands and shops were all owned by player crews. Most shops featured their own puzzle, which required workers to play to generate labour to create the goods, and so on and so forth. Powerful and respected crews who controlled the islands could build lavish mansions filled with baths, hot tubs, foundations, player art, exotic animals, in a style similar to The Sims. This sounds fucking sick. As well as owning the finest of clothes as status symbols that marked them as vastly superior to the average pause. All items from clothes to weapons degraded in real time and had to be created by players actively playing the puzzles and farming more. They also had to be created on specific islands and moved by hand from place to place. Certain items could only be made in some places. So items of real status required extreme wealth and effort to maintain, as did owning the limited property lots for your houses. Any crew with sufficient financial... This sounds like Eve. Sufficient financial power and access to a fleet could declare a blockade on another crew's island. The more important the island... This is like Star Wars now. We've put up a blockade. The more important the island, the higher the cost to blockade it. This would then start a 2-week timer declared to all players that a blockade would take place on X date. On that date, the crews and their allies would battle it out, with each player created ship being destroyed for real if sunk, for control of the island, often with both sides offering huge payments to jobbers, which are pugs, to come and work on their ships to enable them to overpower the opponent. These systems, along with a small but very hardcore player base of Puzzle Pirates Online, turned what seemed to be the cutesy little puzzle-based browser game into a world of utter PvP violence, butchery, and debauchery. Of course, the tryhards. Of course, there are people sweating it out in Puzzle Pirates Online. Sweating it the fuck out big time. Don't download it. You're going to crash the fucking server. The owners are going to be like, what the hell happened? Don't download it. They'll be so confused. Now, the meta of the game was basically a cold war between superpowers that also functioned as evil megacorps trying to exploit the working class for as much profit as possible. Because blockades were the most expensive and potentially least profitable, if you lost or had to keep trying to maintain control, it was a waste of money, the big crews wanted to avoid conflict whilst keeping power. Of course, blockades are a resource drain. We don't want that. Each main archipelago, group of islands in brackets, thank you, had a capital controlled by one of the most powerful and financially strong crews. They would then form alliances with small and mid-sized crews who would own property and produce goods on the smaller islands in the archipelago. In return, the smaller crews had to fight and provide ships and pieces of eight if the archipelago capital was ever blockaded. They also couldn't undercut or financially threaten the main crew's economic policies. Effectively a feudal system with a king and peons who had the right to employ the poors. This meant economic competition on the archipelagos would be non-existent, so wages for labour from the players outside of the crews could be kept to the absolute bare minimum, whilst the goods these poors produced were sold for huge margins of profit. The crews had a circle where all player-generated wealth flowed through them, and they extracted PvE-generated wealth from the biggest number. Puzzle Pirates Online, dude! Not a joke! Big crews could each have their own island chain and their own pieces of pie, whilst the threat of mutual annihilation, blockades could become so massive and costly to destroy the big crews and allow a third party to walk into the power vacuum, meant that no large crew would ever go to war with another. I think we see where this is going. Unless, as occasionally happened, internal drama or betrayals weakened crews and alliances moved in to take everything they had. Now here comes my family. My father and my stepmother were hardcore puzzle piraters. They had been playing Puzzle Pirates Online for years. He is a tawny-haired and buxom Irish lady captain called Big Ol' Meat Pie. And she is a Jamaican Rasta man called Porridged, who was his first mate. As they were both kind of hippie-ish white people IRL, I found this cringe as fuck. They were also unemployed and could basically play Puzzle Pirates Online 24/7. Have you found a job this week? I've been busy. What have you been doing? Well, I need to tell you about the economic feudal problems. Because it's a big deal. As a small note, Puzzle Pirates was a game where everyone pseudo role-played, because of fucking course they did. They wouldn't have elaborate stories or create scripted content or anything, but you had to type in a piratey-themed accent and generally act as if the game was somewhat real to make it fun. It's a bit hard to explain, but failure to adhere to this was considered socially unacceptable with the established crews and could cause you real in-game issues on the server, such as being banned from taking part in certain content or establishments if you did not follow what they dubbed the pirate code. Yar! Am I in? Can I get an invite? Yar, can I have an invite, please? This will come important later. Okay. Big Ol' Meat Pie and Porridge had worked so hard, not getting a real life job, but creating a mid-sized crew. Oh, no, I want to change the name. Can we come up with a piratey guild name? No, they've got a guild name in here, but I think we can. I think our creative knowledge can come up. We need a piratey guild name. What's their piratey guild name? We need it. Come on now, hit me up. Piratey guild name: the Sparrows, Ye Old Swatwombles, the Crawlers, the Plankers. I like that. The Plankers. Let's go with the Plankers. There might be more coming up, so we'll remember the Booty Snatchers. The Big Old Meat Pirate Porridge had worked extremely hard building a mid-sized crew called the Plankers that boasted a respectable fleet and had contributed to several blockades, gradually earning the right to be allied with one of the super crews who controlled the iron-heavy manufacturing archipelago of the Hephaestus Forge. This alliance ensured that the Plankers could have lucrative trading routes to swap iron for cotton, as well as brewing some of the best rum in the seas. Rum improved crew scores, kind of like potions in WoW, and to regularly PvE against Imperial ships, the most profitable PvE sailing routes. They could own a fine mansion with a tiki bar, a hot tub and a weird basement full of skeletons and zombies that my stepmother, Porridge, said was important for voodoo that helped keep the crew powerful. This was her RP. My dad even had a gold and black galleon, the most expensive colours to buy in the game, decorated with statues and wild exotic tiger pets that served as the head of the fleet for the whole crew. He never once took it out of the dock as it was too expensive to ever risk damaging. This is Eve. This is just Eve online. Oh my god. I tell you what, tomorrow, I've got some free time tomorrow night. My family's away. We're going hunting for a Titan in Eve tomorrow. Tomorrow night. I'm doing it tomorrow. It's their 20th anniversary. I'm going in. They were able to dress in all black frilled shirts and coats while sporting the finest hats. It may seem silly, but hats were the true symbols of pedigree in Puzzle Pirates Online. My dad even had an extremely rare and costly pet monkey that formed part of his outfit by sitting on his shoulder. The Plankers had become a somewhat famous crew due to paying slightly above average booty shares to poor people who worked their ships, higher wages, and for their unwavering loyalty to the alliance to the big crew. And my dad's pet shoulder monkey had come to be known as his symbol of power. It was seen as disrespectful amongst the other crews to display another pet monkey in his presence. You better put that shit away. Coming around here, whipping your monkey out. You keep that monkey in your fucking trousers, son. Now enter me. At this time, I'm 12 years old, and due to a long history of what schools describe as emotional problems, I was outside of the mainstream schooling system and living off-grid with my dad whilst my mum tried to find a special school for someone like me. I was also what adults like to describe as a sensitive boy. And what fellow kids call a big puff. I haven't heard puff in years, you big puff. A big puff. My favourite video games were The Sims, where I played as an emo girl art major called Mina, who liked to wear all black and heavy makeup, think Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice, and Kingdom Hearts. My grandmother had asked my mum what yaoi was after seeing Sora X Riku Yaoi in her search history after I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. I need help. I don't know what that means. Sora X Rico Yaoi. Is this a hentai thing? Gay anime hentai. Okay, I figured it was going that way. Google it, I dare you. I don't give a fuck. The fuck? Alright, I'm going in. Sora X Riku Yaoi. It's manga. It's got a YouTube video. It's just two anime characters kissing, but I assume it gets deeper than that. Oh, it's the Kingdom Hearts. Oh, I see. Okay. Incognito. I don't think the FBI is coming for me. I think I'm okay. My dad was concerned in more ways than one that I was not developing as planned. He thought that getting me to play Puzzle Pirates with him and my stepmom would be good for my social development. I got the solution. Okay. And that doing puzzles all day would be intellectually stimulating whilst I wasn't in school anymore. I wasn't super keen on the idea. But then my stepmom showed me all the stuff you could put in your house to decorate and the cool outfits, and I was sold. Initially, I created a character based on my favourite sim, Mina. But my dad didn't think that emos were fit for a pirate game and didn't want me playing a girl. I thought this was actually total bullshit because he played a girl. But he told me it was different as he only played a girl because my stepmom played a man and he didn't want to be gay in game. I mean, we can laugh, but I think your family had a few issues. There appears to be a few issues here. It's not the same. Instead, he helped me make a reassuringly heterosexual looking man with a beard, and my character Swifthawk was born. Oh, Swifthawk's not manly enough. No, we need a manlier name. Come on. What's the most manly name we can name our pirate? Yeah? We need a more manly name to make sure that we're going that way. Johnny Hetero, Chadamus Rex. I like Johnny Hetero, actually. The fearsome pirate, Johnny Hetero. Of the Plankers. No sooner was I in game, and through the tutorial, my dad whisked me up from the starter isle and moved me over to the Hephaestus Forge, and Shanghai'd, aka press gang me, into a crew as a bilge worker. He gave me the lowest rank possible. Nice. Hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, yeah? Some good hard work will beat the hetero into you. That's all it is. It's the only thing that separates the straight men from the gay men is how much weight you lift off the floor. Everybody knows that. That's just facts, right? It's just science at this point. We all know what it is. The grafting, that's what it is. The more things you lift, there's never been a muscly gay person. Never happened. He promised me... Oh, God, the promises are coming. He promised me I could have fancy outfits in a house too, as long as I put in the hard work. He said all I needed now was a sword to fight, which he gave me, rum for whilst I worked, and his stern lash if I failed to meet expectations. Jesus Christ. Luckily for me, my supple young hands were expertly pump the bilge to completion every single day. I actually found the puzzles really easy and this game kind of dog shit. But some of them were quite... This game is really easy. You guys play this like all day. But some of them were quite enjoyable. I could click away at the game with one hand while listening to My Chemical Romance and typing in my fake pirate speech to the other members of the crew at the same time. In between work, where I had to bilge whilst my dad navigated the ship and my stepmom sailed, they would park the ship in their home island and go to manage their various properties for rentals and manufacturing labour. Additionally, my dad tried to get me to work even on shore in one of his breweries, but that puzzle was shit and accidentally burned the hops because I couldn't finish it. So he told me not to work in his shops or anywhere else on land and just go do something. He would whistle, which is what they call whispering in that, when it was time to go bilging again. At first, I'd just leave my character in my shack, the basic free housing that players got, that was a wooden hut with holes in the roof and a stained bedroll in the corner, and log off until my dad made me get back on to bilge. But after a few weeks, I thought I might have earned enough money bilging for my dad to get me some cute outfits, other than the rags that formed the basic clothes of characters that were poor. I went into the tailors and browsed the rack, the discounted non-commissioned clothing that had already partially decayed. You're getting second-hand clothes? Your dad runs this, like, online pirate empire, and you're shopping at the second-hand store? Jesus Christ. I was dismayed to see I could barely afford to buy the cheapest of the options. A pale red and white striped pirate shirt. The hot pink double-breasted coat I'd been eyeing was 20 times the cost of what I'd earned in the weeks of working for my father. I did some quick math, and worked out that if I kept playing every day each week working for my dad, including holidays and time I was meant to visit my mother, I would be 14 years old before I could afford a basic house instead of my shack. This was bullshit. I went straight to my dad IRL and told him I was quitting because he had lied to me about being able to buy a house with marble statues and a pool, and that I was trapped, living in rags in a shack whilst working 6+ hours a day IRL, pumping the bilge of all his friends on their ships. After a heated debate, he promised me that if I kept grinding over the summer holidays, which is several months, he would give me a loan big enough to buy my own ship and show me how to hire poor players myself to make money for me. It's a whole pyramid scheme. Oh my god, it's a pyramid scheme. I didn't want to agree, but he did throw in that I would be able to buy some clothes that weren't rags. I later found out this is because he had already had been socially pressured by his superiors in the big crew, who thought it was bad for the Alliance image that his son was dressed like a peasant and working with uncrewed jobbers while having the crew name above the character. They've actually sent a warning from upon high. Holy fuck. This is not acceptable. I managed this for a month or two. But eventually, the clothes my dad bought me deteriorated into rags. I asked him for money to replace them, but he said I should have enough pieces of 8 of my own to buy my own clothes. Once again, I used my shore leave to check out the island shops, but I still couldn't afford any of the fancy feather hats and hot pink waistcoats that I wanted. Oh my god. Your dad's gonna be so fucking mad. I decided to take a risk and whistled one of my father's friends. A gruff Australian who was in charge of the crew during the oceanic hours. Gimpy. Oh no. Gimpy the Australian, okay, to ask in secret how I could earn more money. He laughed and told me, Go and find work at the docks like the rest of you bilge jobbers. I didn't understand he was making fun of me, so I asked, what? He explained that jobbers go to the docks and sign up for crew work in exchange for enough wages to head to tavern and hope to win some pieces of 8. I understood what crew work was. That's what I've been doing, but I was curious about what the tavern was. Although Puzzle Pirates Online was a vast, vast world, I'd only been exploring what my dad and the crew had told me to do. Maybe there was more to this game. Maybe there was other ways for me to get the money to make my home. What do they have in the tavern? I inquired hopefully. He laughed again. Har! Play poker, and try and win enough to get rich and escape from being a little jobby like ye. Thar to ho. Oh no. I knew what poker was, but I didn't really like card games unless they had cute pictures like Pokemon. I decided to ask what ho meant, assuming it was another term like POE for pieces of 8, an acronym. At this point, Gimpy must have been having a great time. He responded, ha! Go and find out for yourself, lad. From what Big Ol' Meat Pie said, you might like it. Oh, shit. No. Oh, Gimpy, you rat bastard. Gimpy, you absolute fucking rat jam. Well, I'm going to go and find out. I decided to head to the tavern and entered to see a room bustling with more players than I'd ever seen in this game. Most of them were clustered around a small puzzle station labelled gaming table that displayed chips and cards, whilst their characters displayed the symbol over their heads that meant they were in the middle of a puzzle. Others were standing around the tavern and talking/say. I was shocked and appalled to see that many of them were talking in real world speak and not pirate speak. Something my father had told me I could never ever do. The only time they would speak piratey would be when the game's inbuilt profanity filter turned their swears and slurs into terms like landlubber or scurvy rat. It was time to shoot my shot. I walked into the centre of the room and proudly announced, I am looking to hoe for pieces of 8. This was largely ignored except for a small group who typed out LOL. I approached my character, forming the game's social circle that placed all our characters facing one another. What are you, a bilge drinker? One of them asked me pointedly. Oh, a cum drinker. Oh, I see. Oh, no. I was confused, but realized I'd made some sort of mistake. I responded in my pirate speak. Yarr, I ain't no bilge drinker. Just looking to make some pieces of 8. They laughed and 2 of them walked away. But one of a female pirate with curly hair, also dressed in rags, called Mistress, stayed. Bex, how happy were you that we have a top-tier website supporter named Mistress, and then this story came up? She whistled to me, whispers. You don't have to talk like that in here. We aren't around the cruise. By the way, Ho means you want to do ERP for pieces of 8. But it's normally for girl characters. Otherwise, they will think that you are gay. Gay with a space between each of the letters. G space A space Y. Her typing of gay, of course, got around the profanity filter, and I quickly realized that bilge drinker was the game's censored word replacement for a variety of homophobic slurs. I paused for a moment. Since I was about 7 years old, I had suspected I might indeed be what the pirate termed a bilge drinker. I tentatively... Oh, God. I tentatively replied to Mistress in normal English. Deciding to avoid the topic for now, I asked, and what is ERP? She didn't laugh or call me a slur, but said, it means pretending to have sex in the game and writing out what you do in the text, like pornography. Porn wasn't something I really liked. A lot of my friends, boys, at school had tried to show me porn, and I found it gross. Ew. I was, however, quite familiar with the world of fanfiction from my hand. Now you're speaking my language. She's not. No. They're not, she's not 7. She was 12 at this time, I think, something like that. I was familiar with fanfiction and the stories featuring characters from games I had a crush on performing the sexy times. The idea of writing about drinking bilge was not unappealing, but the thought that my dad might catch me was. Oh, I didn't know that. I just wanted to earn some money, I responded to her. Hopefully she immediately suggested, then just try poker. It's the best way to make money and it's really fast. I wasn't sure about all this. I had heard my dad talk about jobbers wasting all their money gambling and how it was good as it is to keep coming back and working for more. But I thought about those pink coats, the cool tiki bar, exotic tigers that my dad and stepmother owned, and the thought of bilging for months. Fuck that. What the hell? I made a deal with myself. If I won, I would buy better clothes and keep playing. If I lost, I would just quit the game and go back to The Sims. Either way, it'd be better than what I was doing right now. So I saddled up to the table and joined a game with 7 other players. The initial buy-in was low. Everyone had to pay 50 pieces of 8 per round, with one player having to pay 100. Players could then raise, fold, or call as cards were revealed, but we had to match to the 2 in our hands. A small key on the side showed the best scoring hands. I would usually earn about 500 money per hour with my dad, and clothes were around 15 to 20,000 for decent but not expensive pieces, rising anywhere to 200,000 for the luxury clothes. At the end of the round, the winning player was sometimes winning 4,000 or 5,000 money, all for initial buy-in of just 50 to see if you had good cards. It looked easy to me. I started playing, winning a little, losing mostly, but overall couldn't really change too much. As I played, I noticed that those around the table were chatting in the side box, but instead of talking about lame pirate stuff, they were talking like normal people, about cool edgy bands like Evanescence. The thrill of the game and the interesting chat made this way better than bilging. For the first time, I was enjoying my time in Puzzle Pirates Online. After an hour or so, a new player swapped into the table. I could see his character was dressed in fancy clothes and had an eye patch, something you could only get from being on a sinking ship during a blockade. He didn't join in the chat, but I noticed that after the first goes around, where players would bet or call for 100 or 200 money, he would either fold or raise by 1,000 or 2,000 before the final cards were revealed. This was dramatically more than what we had been playing with before, and he was rinsing us all for everything we had. He seemed to win hand after hand, mostly due to pricing others out the game. Even if he lost, it didn't seem to matter. He had enough money to outlast them and win it back. Players on the table started leaving and being replaced. I noticed that my money had dropped to less than half what I'd started with in only 5 or 10 minutes, despite having played for an hour at a stable level. I thought he must be bluffing like they did in the films. On the next hand, I matched his bets and stayed until the end, placing 4,000 of my hard-earned pieces of 8 on the table, only for him to casually raise me to 10,000 as if it was nothing. I didn't have that much. The game only offered me 2 choices, to fold or to go all in, placing every single piece of money I had from bilging on the table. At that moment, I also received a single whisper from my dad. Bilge time. Whatever was about to happen, this was my last hand. Either I walked away having lost almost all my money, or I risked it all for glory. I slammed that all-in button and waited, biting my nails for my fate to be revealed. My cards were shown first. I had pairs on both my cards. Not a strong hand, but not nothing. After what seemed like an eternity, the game showed his. I couldn't look. I turned away and only looked back when I heard the ching, sound effect that played when winnings are allocated. I just earned 30,000 pieces of 8. In an hour of poker, I had doubled what I had earned in weeks of working for my father. He whistled me again. "Where are ye?" And I quickly replied, 5 mins. I want to show ye something. I left the poker table, where the rich guy I'd just beaten continued to play, seemingly not arsed by his loss, and rushed to buy a simple green tricorn for 14,000 pieces of 8. I jumped aboard my dad's ship and proudly advanced his character to show off my cool new hat. "Notice anything?" I asked him whilst beaming from behind my screen. He ignored me and simply used the in-game order system to assign me to bilge or be planked, aka kicked off the boat. He was annoyed I was late and slowing down an important large-scale hemp transportation he needed to collect and bring back from another archipelago. I was so disappointed! But nothing could take the shine off my big win, and I happily started bilging away. Later, after the mission, and we got back to our fortress, he spoke to me IRL. He said he was proud of me for working hard, my stick-to-itiveness to buy my own hat. That I had finally proven I was more than just a filthy bilge rat. It was time for me to become a real member of the crew. He walked me onto a plain, undecorated sloop I had never seen before. The Cutty Ray. Oh no, we need to name the boat. What are we calling the boat? We need a name. We need a name for the boat. What are we calling the first boat? The Girthy Sausage? No. There's Bilge Drinker. Peer Pressure. I like that. I like the pun. We'll call it Peer Pressure. That's good. That's good. He walked me onto a plain, undecorated sloop I'd never seen named Peer Pressure, and then opened a trade window. I couldn't believe my eyes as it popped up. He gave me the deed to the Peer Pressure, 100,000 pieces of 8, and a key to the family manor. "Welcome to the crew," he said as he handed the treasures over. Finally it had happened. I was the captain of my own ship. A lowly sloop, but still, it was mine. I had enough money to buy a full set of fine clothes and start decorating my room in the manor. I had made it. Over the next few months, my dad taught me all about stocking up a ship, hiring paws, and began to teach me how to navigate my own sloop. Unfortunately, I was shit at this. I couldn't do any of the puzzles with any success except for bilging, the only one I'd achieved Grand Master rank in. My dad had every puzzle at Grandmaster except bilging. He just refused to do it because it was so bad. After a few trips out where I failed to succeed in battling PvE ships and simply maxed out my own damage and ended up losing gold getting pillaged by the enemy, my dad decided I would be better off as a merchant than a pirate. He assigned me and my ship low-level jobs to move cargo for the Alliance, while under the strict instructions never to engage the enemy and only to run the ship at times and hours where I wouldn't be attacked. It wasn't exactly glory, but I didn't care. I was a prince with my own ship and access to the family trust fund. He would assign me an allowance and pay for my ship costs, while generally letting me do what I wanted. He said it didn't matter as long as his son was seen to work for the Alliance and to have great social standing within Puzzle Pirates Online. I realised later that I was basically just another fashion accessory like the monkey on his shoulder. I would go down to the docks and the tavern and meet friends like Mistress who I'd treat to gifts using my allowance and wow them by showing off the manor as my crib. I even participated in my first ERP experiences, but I was not the hoe, but I would pay paws who seemed to have good writing skills from the tavern to treat me like a princess. Aww. I sold and traded my sloop for the much sexier dhow, an Arabian-style ship that came with large piles of pillows and hookah pipes. I was living the good pirate life. But it was not to last, my friends. One day at the tavern, I was approached by a pirate woman in a ball gown dyed in crimson, one of the most expensive colours in the game. She introduced herself as Skimpy. And whistled me to ask, why is a well-dressed captain like you associating with these ragged-clothed jobbers in this low establishment? She too had a crew name above her head. Thankfully it wasn't from my dad's alliance, but one of the other archipelagos. She must have been visiting to purchase swords, which were the best quality here. I thought of the rich player I'd beaten here before and decided on my excuse. Ah, my lady, 'tis merely a diversion. I enjoy earning back the wages I've been forced to pay on the card table. It seemed to work. She emoted a chuckle. If you're one for games, Captain, you should join the high-stakes table of Poseidon. Enjoy some real company. I was intrigued. I hadn't set foot outside of our own island chain and didn't know where the other games and outside taverns were. Oh, perhaps you could show me. She seemed willing. Oh, of course. We're always looking for new blood, she said while emoting a giggle. Join me on my ship back to Poseidon and I'll introduce you. Oh, you've been sucked in. I went with her and was pleased to see that she too enjoyed a dhow. It's my little toy ship. No good for actual pirating, but she's lovely to sail around. We retired to her cabin and discussed her choice of decor, while she showed me her many outfits. I was very envious. On arrival, we didn't head to a tavern, but to the Alliance Keep of the archipelago, where a very fancy-looking game table was set out. She explained that Poseidon Archipelago was the Las Vegas of Puzzle Pirates Online. It had the best mansions where the wealthy went to play games and relax. Many of them didn't even bother playing the rest of the game, but simply earned passive income from all their rents and shops. I sat down and began to play. There wasn't much talking, but I was shocked to see the game's starting buy-in was 1,000 money, and standard pots range from 20 to 200,000 pieces of 8 a game. I was nervous. My allowance was 100k a month. More than most players saw in a lifetime, but not enough to play games like this. But I couldn't just leave. I played a few games, cautiously and folding early if things didn't look favourable. I started making some profit, seeing my earnings climb steadily. Skimpy whistled me. You're quite the dab hand, darling. We kept playing, and once again I found myself facing an all-in pot, except this time the pool had risen to 300,000. And I was again looking at going all in. I had a decent hand. My opponent was Skimpy herself, and I was certain she was bluffing. Our hands were revealed. I muffled a scream into my hoodie as her royal flush saw the entire pool of over 600,000 money slide over to her character, leaving me with not a single penny in the world. Oh, bad luck, sweetie. Better luck next hand, she whispered me casually. I was shaking. I'd lost everything. I wasn't going to get any more money in the game for 2 weeks. My dad would notice if my clothes turned to rags or I hadn't stocked the rum. The only option I had was to try and win it back. Perhaps Skippy would give me a small sum to stay in the game for a few more rounds. Darling, I'm all out. Could I borrow a few coins after your win? I could lend you a few 100,000, but what's in it for me? She wrote out with a wink. Well, what can I do? I replied, trying to keep my cool as I sweated behind the screen. You said you had a dhow. You could give the ship to me. Temporarily, of course. Until you win it back. I took a moment to breathe. To give away my ship even temporarily was risky. Technically, the ship belonged to the crew and my father, even though I held the deed. He would notice I'd lost it and didn't have any way to explain it. He'd be furious as he'd have to explain to the other crew officers, maybe even the Alliance, where one of the fleet ships had gone. On the other hand, I could just win enough back to pay Skimpy her share and have enough to get by to my next allowance. I didn't even need to win big. I just needed a small win, maybe 50,000. So I agreed. I traded her the deed to the ship in exchange for 200,000. This was about half its actual worth, but it was only a loan for a moment to show she could trust me. As soon as she had the deed, her character logged out. I tried to whisper her, but the message did not get through. Of course, she had done what so many MMO players would do in this situation. What I naively thought she would do. She would not due to her existing wealth and friendliness. She had taken my ship, my money, and put me on ignore, laughing all the way to the bank. She was a legitimate pirate. But I had a real problem. Was what she had done low? Yes. But it was her word against mine, and she was in a different alliance. If I told my dad, he wouldn't believe me. If I made it public, it would cause conflict between two alliances, and no one would believe me. But you see, the biggest problem of all was that in Puzzle Pirates Online, every ship has a unique name. My dad could search for Peer Pressure, the name of my dhow, and see it belonged to Skimpy. I couldn't hide where that ship was. I logged out and made a new character before whispering Skimpy. Please, I beg you, please. 600,000 and it's yours. Almost double the market price of the ship. I don't have that. I was distraught and hopeless. I had no money and no way to get access unless... Give me 2 hours, I said. You see, my stepmother and her character Porridge was the first mate of the Planker's crew and had a council seat on the Alliance for Hephaestus Forge Archipelago. She had shown me the Alliance keep before and opened the Alliance bank to show me the war chest. A sum of money set aside in the keep by all alliances to pay for a blockade should it ever happen. It was publicly visible so that all enemy alliances would be able to see just how much it would cost to blockade them. But not exact as private wealth could be used to top it off. Still, most alliances filled as high as they could to make it very clear that attacking them was a waste of time. My father and stepmother both had access to this war chest, and my stepmother regularly left her character logged in while she would take the dog for a walk. All I had to do, my friends, was wait for my father to go and have a cigarette, my stepmother to go walking, and I could log in, take off a small amount of that money, and get back my money. Then I could replace it all and have my ship back, and nobody would have any idea. It would be so simple. It worked like a charm. I took 1 million pieces of 8 from the chest, sent it to my character, put my stepmother back on her ship, and as soon as I was back on my character, I arranged to meet Skimpy back in Poseidon. I gave her 600,000, and she gave me back the deed to my ship. She emoted another giggle before asking, "Aren't you big old meat pie's son?" I didn't respond and moved away from her, heading towards the gaming tables once more, as I had to win again to get all the money back to put back in the war chest. She whistled as I went away. "I'll see you at the blockade then." I paused, confused. What blockade? There was no blockade. "What do you mean?" I said. The reply shot back, "You shouldn't have gone to that tavern, you jobby son." I froze again. I knew who it was. Skimpy was Gimpy. Gimpy? I asked. "I got ye like a skinned fish, you bilge rat," he responded. You see, dear Reedy, Skimpy was an alt of Gimpy all along. "What are you doing?" I said back to him, complete with a list of expletives I won't repeat, but it was no use. He had put me on ignore. I went back to the table and, to no one's surprise, I lost every fucking penny gambling on poker in a desperate, pathetic attempt to win it all back. I logged out of the game and threw myself on my bed, crying my eyes out. An hour or so later, my father came to find me. "Come here." He led me to his desk and computer screen. He showed me an out-of-game email he had received from Gimpy. It contained screenshots showing me talking in non-pirate speak at the poker table in the tavern with my poor friends, something that embarrassed him and the whole alliance. It showed all my exchanges with Skimpy. It also showed that Gimpy had left the crew, taking his ships and as much as he could steal, and had sent it to his Skimpy character. Then the alliance that Skimpy belonged to had declared a blockade against the big alliance that my dad worked for. He then panned back to the game and showed me the log of Porridge taking money from the war chest. My stepmother had gone out because she was so furious at what had happened, but of course her chat log showed the transfer of money to my character. I was rumbled. There was nothing to deny. It was all there in black and white. My dad didn't shout, but he explained in cold terms how his crew would have been kicked out of the alliance if not for the blockade and the alliance being weaker than ever, and that all his and my stepmom's personal wealth would have to be used to fund the blockade to make amends for what I had done. He explained how they were losing everything that they had spent years building because of what I had done. Then he made me log on to my character and took control. He transferred everything I owned, every single item of clothing and furniture, back to his character, leaving me in rags standing on the docks. Then he ceremonially booted me from the crew, leaving me nameless and with no association to him. I cried. I cried and cried in the real world, telling him how sorry I was. But he held fast, and when I was done, just shook his head, looked at me sadly and announced in a firm and devastating voice, "Gimpy was right. You are just a bilge rat." I tried to keep playing, bilging to earn back my dad's favour. His alliance defended the blockade and they didn't lose their wealth in the end, but he would never forgive me for the betrayal of Puzzle Pirates Online. All I did then was bilge, go to the tavern dreaming of a day I would earn enough to be approved in my dad's eyes. It never happened. My pirate's tale ended as it began, in the gutter, dressed in rags and standing alone on a dock. One night, whilst begging for money, a player promised to give me 10,000 pieces of 8 if I shouted 9/11 was an inside job. I was so desperate, I agreed. I had nothing left to lose. I did it, and he gave me the money. But the next day, I discovered that my account had been locked, and I had been given a lifetime ban. I told my dad I was done with Puzzle Pirates Online. I can't hack it. He just said, "Shame. You were the best bilger we had." He'd forgiven me in the end. It was just a game after all. But he would never let me join his crew again. And that's okay. You see, I was about to start a free trial for a cool new game I'd seen. Something way better than Puzzle Pirates Online. I was going to World of Warcraft, where I have many drama stories to share. I hope you enjoyed my tale. I'm a bilge rat and proud. Thanks for all the great work making drama. Much love to you and the Team X. P.S. All the gender and sexuality stuff worked out great in the end. I am happy and have had the treatment I need. I live with a lovely boyfriend and have a somewhat okay relationship with my dad, who has accepted that I am a regulation bilge drinker. We got there in the end! We got there in the end! Round of applause. That was a roller coaster to go on, but it fell right in with what a 12-year-old would do. Good God almighty. Well, we are overtime on drama time by about 40 minutes. I am starving. I want to go and have some dinner. I want to thank you all for being on this adventure with me. Get your stories in. We'll be playing some Eve tomorrow night. I look forward to seeing you. And on Sunday, we're off to Sweden. Hello, Mr. August. Good to see you. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for a great week. And I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.